I'd like to show you now how you can have some control over pattern fills inside your objects or your garments as we're going to focus on making here throughout the class. And just so that you know that with patterns in Illustrator, they can be taken from the existing patterns found in our swatches panel, which is up over here. Now for this little exercise, I do have a preloaded file, which is this file. It's on my course connection. It's called Garment Rotate. If you download that, you can open it and then follow along with this tutorial. I am going to go ahead and zoom in on the actual shirt here and show you some different things about um, manipulating the patterns and stuff in that. Alright, so I've opened up the swatch panel and it's got some basic swatches already preloaded with this file. Now, if I want to just see my pattern swatches and not my solid colored ones, I can come here. Right now it's showing all the swatches. I could select to just see the colors, gradients, and then patterns. So there it minimized the ones I'm looking at. That's a little bit of control there with that panel. Now, to show you some stuff with this garment, let's go ahead and get to the right page here. When we have sleeves here, many times the sleeves might be drawn with an angle as if they were laid out flat on the floor and you're going to lay them out flat. But the fabric wouldn't have been done that way. It would have been cut straight on the grain, and so if you had a stripe, use the arrow. So if you had a line or a stripe of some sort through the pattern, on the sleeve it would be running at an angle. So I'm going to show you two tricks here for playing with the patterns to be able to get it to rotate in sleeve. But first thing, I want to show you how you can actually move a pattern inside an object. Now I have my selection tool here. Everything is grouped in this shirt, all the different sections, the sleeve, the back, the front, and such. So if I use my selection arrow, I'm selecting everything because it's grouped. But over here, under the direct select, I have group selection tools. So within a group, now I clicked in the middle of that shirt, and now I've got the basic outline of just the bodice part. So I've got that clicked. All my points are solid, filled with the highlight color, in this case blue, so I know I have the entire object selected. Now I'm going to actually use my keyboard for this, so be sure that you try this out on yours. We're going to use our arrows to nudge things. Now if I actually nudge, and I'm just doing tap tap, see how it moved the whole object, and that's not what I want. So let me put it back where it was. There we go. I want to move the pattern inside. So to do that, I'm going to hold down another key on the keyboard. It's called the tilde key. And it's the little squiggly line that you see usually as an accent mark in over letters of from foreign languages. It's up next to number 1 on the top row of your number keys. It's the tilde key. I'm going to hold that down, and now I'm going to nudge with my arrows. And if you see, now you can see the patterns moving, but not the object. If I use the shift key and the tilde key, it moves it, 10 points at a time. So you can adjust that so that you have a motif centered on a garment if you wanted. So that's how you can move a piece. Now, let's go ahead and fill our sleeve with the same similar pattern. The best way to do that, using my direct select group key tool, I'm going to click on the you want to click on the line of the sleeve. If I click in the middle, there's nothing fill, so I'm not actually touching anything that the computer recognizes. So I need to get on the path of the outline of the sleeve. Click. Now it's got everything. But I want this exact same pattern. I can come over here and try and figure out which one it is, but sometimes those are so small it's hard to tell. So I can use the eyedropper tool and come over here and click. As long as this one's selected first, I can click inside this other one and see how it filled it. Okay. Now the pattern runs seamlessly from that object to the other, but we need this pattern to rotate just a little bit. So let's go ahead and go to our rotate tool, which is right over here. If your reflect tool is on top, then rotate will be buried. And I'm going to double click on it. I have to have the sleeve already selected though. And I can do an angle. I'm going to punch in 50 degrees. And here you have options. You can transform the object, and that's probably your default at this point, or transform patterns. We actually want to transform the pattern and leave the sleeve or the object in the exact same place. And I can click preview to kind of see what it's going to do. Did you see the sleeve angle change? You can play around with different degrees for your angle, but in this I'm just going to go ahead and stick to 50 for our time purposes and click OK. So now we have that one. I'm going to go back to my group selection tool, select the other sleeve, and use my eyedropper tool and pick the middle one. But again, it kept it going in the same seamless continuation of the one from the bodice. So again, we're going to rotate it. But this time, because this sleeve's going the opposite direction, we actually need to put a negative sign in front of our 50 degrees. It's still on transform patterns because that was the last setting I had when I used it. Make sure objects is unclicked and click OK. Now, if I wanted to kind of line up patterns on either side here, I can make sure I'm back on my group selection, and I can use my tilde key on my keyboard. It's next to number 1, and then my arrows to kind of nudge things over and play around with where I want those to be. And I can work on being very balanced from one side of the screen to the other. That looks pretty balanced. And this one I may actually want to go there. So see how I kind of looked at trying to line up the corners of these white squares? Oh. Control Z undoes because I moved it. I forgot to hold down my tilde key to actually move my pattern. There we go. Now this sleeve kind of looks like that sleeve in the lineup somewhat. All right. That's actually a nice little trick. Not everyone seems to do that. And if a potential employer saw that you have that eye to detail, could make or break you landing the job above someone else. Well, there you go. That is how to move and rotate existing patterns with inside objects, or in our case, inside garments.